Hey guys, welcome to my channel. I'm Jordan, and funny story. I started filming this video in like last August and never finished it. That's partly because of my YouTube hiatus. I didn't want to continue reading these books that I thought I might come back to for this series, so I put that on a break, and also because I kind of got sick of these books as I was reading them, but you'll see that all come in. I am going to insert the footage now from back then where I did the intro and I read the first couple books, and then I will be back to talk about where I'm at now. But I wanted to give a little intro before the intro to let you know that you will be seeing footage from like 6 months ago. So we'll come back, we'll reconvene once you're done with that. Hey everyone, welcome to my channel. I'm Jordan, and today I am starting a new book series binge. So I have done one other of these videos so far. I read the whole Sisterhood of the Traveling Pants book series, and that was super fun. And so I am here to read another entire series in one video, and that is going to be the Selection series. So this is a book series that I had never heard about before BookTube, which is kind of surprising because even in middle school, high school, I was very into dystopian type books, which this is, but I had never heard about it, and I had never heard about it specifically until it was announced that this is going to become a movie, a TV series, I can't remember, something on Netflix. I don't think anyone really knows the timing on that anymore because of COVID-19 and production schedules getting shifted and not being able to film things anymore for TV or movies. So that's a little crazy. Things are up in the air, but I'm assuming it's still happening eventually. And before that comes out, I would love to read the series and to know the story, what it's all about, what everyone's talking about. And so that's what I'm going to do in this video. I'm going to read the entire Selection series. As far as I understand, the first 3 books in the series, The Selection, The Elite, and The One, are kind of the base series, and then the final 2 books, The Heir and The Crown, are like an additional part of the series. It's not the same characters, as far as I understand. It's just kind of the same world and story continued. And then I know there are a couple of novellas and things that go in between these different books. I am not planning on reading any of those extra novellas and things unless I end up really loving this series and wanting to devour absolutely everything that exists in it. I don't think I'll be doing that, but I do plan to read these original 5 books. There's definitely some mixed reviews that I've seen about the later 2 books in the series, and I think just because they're short enough and because I, again, want to know what everyone's talking about, I probably will read the entire thing, but I'm definitely expecting to like the first 3 books the best. So that's what this video is going to be. I'll give a short synopsis in the beginning here, but I am expecting, maybe not for this to be an entire spoiler-filled vlog, but I do plan to talk about each book in the series as I read them. So if you have not read the entire series, feel free to drop off whenever I get to the book that you have not read yet. But if you don't plan on reading the books, or if you've already read them, then obviously I shouldn't be telling you anything that you don't want to hear. So what this series is about, I believe, you know what? Let's just get out the first book and find out. Let's read the synopsis. So it follows this main character named America, and she is selected, I guess, to kind of vie for the love of this prince. And so it's sounding very Bachelor-esque, which I think I've heard of it described as like a dystopian Bachelor before. I love The Bachelor, so I'm definitely expecting to like this series because of that. And I'm assuming because it becomes a series, she makes it pretty far in the process, or maybe she wins and it follows her life, you know, after she's chosen as the winner of this love competition. I don't really know anything. I have not heard any spoilers about this series, so I'm just excited to dive right in, to fall in love with this character and love interest, and there's probably a love triangle because it's a YA dystopia, but yeah, I'm gonna get right into reading. Again, this will be a vlog all about my thoughts, so I will check in as I feel it necessary to share my thoughts on each part of each book, so I will see you there. Hey guys, good morning. It is a day after I've started this video, and I have read a little over halfway of the Selection, and I have some thoughts, some mixed feelings to talk through. So let me just give you a little bit of a summary of what I've read so far. Whether you have not read the book before, have no interest, I can give you a little background, or maybe you've read it, but it's been several years. I can remind you, or maybe you have read it recently. I'll just let you know exactly where I'm at. So basically, this book is like if The Bachelor and The Hunger Games had a baby. Like, it's a complete mix of the two. In this society, there are these different castes, I think they might be called. I think there's like 8 of them, but it's basically like the districts in the Hunger Games where the people in one are like the rich, the wealthy, the famous, all of the most important people are in like number 1. And then as you get further and further down, you become more poor, less important, less likely to have success in the future, or whatever. And our main character is from 5, so she's kind of in the middle. And at the beginning of this book, we are introduced to the selection. Basically, whenever the prince of the palace becomes of the age to find a wife, they go through a selection process where all of the girls, or any girls that want to from any of the different castes, can apply to become part of the selection. I think 35, maybe 25, I think 35, get chosen to go to the palace and meet and vie for the prince's love. And he goes through a process much like The Bachelor, where he eliminates them as he sees them not fit to marry and eventually chooses one. And at the beginning of the book, we're kind of made to think that our main character, who's named America, not my favorite name, we're made to think that she like has no chance. Why would she ever be chosen? And she's in cast 5, yes, which is not like a high cast number, but it's also not like out of the realm of possibility that she could at least be chosen for the selection. But it's made to be like one of those like, not her, she's not pretty enough, she's not sophisticated enough, like she could never be chosen. And then of course she's chosen. But then the way people react to her, like, she's clearly beautiful and people like her. Like, we have no reason to believe that this is out of the realm of possibility for her. So already I'm confused about that. And then before she leaves for the selection, we find out that she has like a forbidden lover back at home. He's from cast 6, I think. And so it would kind of be frowned upon for her to ever marry him or run away with him or fall in love with him because he is of a lower caste. But again, it's not out of the realm of possibility because she asked her dad, like, what if I fell in love with a person from 6 or 7? Would you be upset? And he basically said, I would support you no matter who you loved. That would be a very big and important decision for you to make, but if you made that decision, I would be behind you. And then her and this guy get in a fight before she goes to the selection. So then, maybe we're supposed to think that, oh, that's not going to work out, even though it's a very surface level petty fight. So I obviously don't believe that that's going to last. So they seem very right for each other. And then when she goes to the selection, she is kind of in it for like the experience, and just by being selected to be part of the selection, even if she doesn't win, she's already providing a little bit for her family. Her family got like a reward for her being selected, and she automatically jumps up to cast 3. So she's already raised in status. So she's already kind of won whatever she wants out of it. She doesn't necessarily want to fall in love with the prince, so it's kind of a win-win situation. The longer she lasts in the competition, the more rewarded she gets. So she has like a little bit of a reason to want to stay, but not really, because she has a love. She has her family's support. She has fans. People like her. She's beautiful. Like, she has a great life. And so it just seems very low stakes. Like, why are we rooting for her if she's gonna be fine no matter what? And I've gotten to the point now where she's met the prince and they have developed a very strong friendship. It is clear so far that she's not really, her head's not in the game for the competition. He, I guess, isn't too interested in her. He's got all these other suitors, so they might not form a romantic connection, but they become good friends and kind of made an agreement that he's going to keep her around to kind of be his eyes and ears for the other ladies. He can tell her, she can tell him, who she thinks is, could make a good queen or princess for this prince. So that's where I'm at. I don't know. I'm just not like into it. Like I said, it feels so low stakes.
and I'm not sure who I'm supposed to be rooting for because there's no love triangle yet because there's no love between the prince and America. So I don't know. I'm curious to see where the back half of this book is gonna go. I'm not sure if like this first book wraps up the entire selection process. I don't think so. I want to say the first 3 books are the entire selection process. So I don't know, it might get down to the final 8 or something in this book and then it'll continue on. Curious. At this point, I if I wasn't making a video about this, I don't know if I would have picked up this book in the first place, and I definitely don't think I would continue it on if I wasn't in like the bookish world and knew that this was becoming adapted and things like that. It's not my type of book anymore, really. I think that if I read this in middle school, I probably would have eaten it up and loved it, which I know is when a lot of people did read this book for the first time. So I can see how that nostalgia might be there, or for a younger reader, it might be good. But to me, so far, it's not good. It's not bad. It just confuses me. I'm interested to see if it improves at all as the series continues. So I'm going to keep reading this book. I'll let you know when I finished it probably and update you with my thoughts then. Okay, I have finished the selection, book number 1, and I weirdly don't have a lot to say about it. So Kayla from Books and Lala did a read-along of this series a couple months ago, I think back in May, when it was first just announced that this was becoming adapted on Netflix. And I remember she did an Instagram live show to talk about each book in the series after they all read it. And I remember tuning in a little bit to the first one, and her basically being like, I don't have a lot to say about this book. It kind of is what it is. It's pretty surface level, not much to discuss. And I feel the same way, especially because this book doesn't go all the way to the end of the competition. It gets down to the top 6 girls, which just makes it feel very incomplete. Nothing is resolved. Nothing is even really, like, there's no tension at the end. I don't know. It makes it very hard to want to continue on reading the series, but I'm going to still. I have a couple of things to bring up, or one thing to bring up, not because the book prompted me to have this discussion, but because of more like the Bachelor TV show. So I've heard a lot of discussions about how damaging the show is to the contestants, and they are full-grown adult women. And I can only imagine that something like this, if it were real, happening to 16 to 20-year-old girls, how damaging that would be for them. All of the comparison to other girls, feeling like you have to be chosen by this one guy and make yourself into the best version of yourself to get chosen. The focus on how you look and how the rest of the world perceives you once all of this is aired to everyone in the country or world or whatever this is. All of that would be extremely damaging to a teenage girl as she's forming her own self-esteem and self-worth and opinion of herself in a relationship. And I wish that were explored a little bit more. It's something, like I said, that I've heard discussed about the Bachelor TV show and how there's little to no support for the women after they get out of the TV show, even though a lot of them are damaged from the process and they have a lot of, therapy to go through or just healing and processing to do after the fact. And it'd be nice if the show helps them out with that financially and with resources and everything, but they don't. And again, I wish this book explored that a little more. I realize that this is an old book and these are kind of modern day discussions just happening now, but it would have been really nice and ahead of its time for it to be having those discussions about what a process like this does to the girls. Maybe it's coming. I don't expect it to be coming, but that's kind of the only thing that I have been thinking about after putting this book down. Other than that, like I said, I don't have a ton of thoughts. Still don't really know what I'm supposed to root for. Not really rooting for this main character to end up with either of the guys that she is interested in. Both of the guys are like fine, but not great. So yeah, some weird thoughts, I guess. I don't need to keep rambling on because I have a bunch more books to read for this, but they're reading very quickly, so I will be getting on to the next one and letting you know when I have an update there. Hey guys, update time. I actually have finished The Elite. So book 2 in the selection series, I finished yesterday. I actually read the whole thing yesterday. I was on a road trip and was able to actually listen to this on Hoopla, and it was a quick, I think the audiobook is like 8 hours long, and on double time speed it was like 4 hours and something. So I was able to finish it in one day, and complicated feelings about it. Again, kind of like the first one. I enjoyed this one more, I think. I think that it had a little more, I don't know, there was just more to it. So like the first book was just about this selection, and it was very surface level. Didn't really know what to think about the relationships. But in the second book, the relationships are a little bit more well-defined. I still don't really know who I'm supposed to be rooting for. But it got a little bit more into like the politics of this world, and what does our main character actually stand for, and how would she fit into this royal family if she was selected, and things like that. Those aspects I enjoyed. It still just really bugs me that, so this second book follows from when there are 6 girls left to when there are, I guess I don't even know, like 4-ish. So like not that much time passes, or even if time passes, like you're not actually, like the selection's not getting any closer to being done. And that bugs me that it's going to be 3 books to do this one selection. I feel like it could have just been put into one, and cut down. It doesn't need to be a series like this many pages long for one selection. It definitely could be put into one and then edited down. So yeah, I guess I have to read the third book. I mean, I was planning to anyway, obviously, but I definitely have to, just to get the resolution that I really want. Oh, and I also should say that, like, the ending of the second book, I think I'm doing spoilers here, so let's go ahead and spoil it. When America and, is it Maxon or Maxim? I don't even know. When America and Maxon get like locked together during one of the attacks, and they have their deep conversation, and they kind of figure out that maybe they're not made for each other. Maybe America should just go home. So they get that all settled, and then all of a sudden it's like, just kidding. Maybe I won't leave. Maybe I do still have a chance. What? What was that whole purpose of that conversation? To find out that you would be fine, and then you're just gonna go back and say that, no, I actually want to stay. And then still no resolution with like the other guy. It just makes no sense. It's a character, I do not relate to this main character at all. I would be making totally different decisions. And yeah, so I am going to rate the second book 3 stars, I think. So I give the first one 2 stars, second one 3 stars, slightly better. I'm still not sold on the series as a whole. I have no idea what the Netflix adaptation is gonna do. Like, is it only following the first book? So is it also going to be unresolved? Or is it going to get through the whole selection? I don't know. Very curious what the heck is going to happen in this third book here. The one, I mean, I think I'm rooting for her not to win, because I'm rooting for her to be with the other boy. I don't know. Very conflicted. Gonna get to that third book. Gonna let you know what I think about that. But so far, not sold on it. I don't even know at this point if I would enjoy it when I was younger. I feel like even when I was younger, I can appreciate complexity in characters and complexity in situations, and there's just not enough of that in here. I don't know. Very meh. So just gonna get to the third book. I'll let you know when I'm done with it.
All right, so where I had left off was I had read the first 2 books in the series, and then I had the last 3 books to get to. So that is where I'm at, and at the time of filming this, I am actually halfway through the 3rd book, The One. So I'm still very confused about why this had to be 3 books, especially because the start of this book just like puts you right back into the action, which is fine, but I'm really glad I had this footage that I just watched so that I could remember who was who, what did I like, what did I not like, because this gives no recap of the past books or like any kind of like hinty type stuff of like reminding you who the characters are. No, it just puts you right back in it. And now about halfway, we still have not made very much progress towards like the end of the selection and finding out what's going to happen. So I'm expecting the end of this book to be very rushed and unsatisfactory, and that's unfortunately my prediction at this point. I'm not loving it any more than I did before, but I am at least excited, interested to get this series done with. And I am still interested at this point to read the last 2 books in the series that are connected but not quite the same. Just to see what that's all going to be about. So now at this point I am going to continue this video. I'll be back with updates as I finish the last 3 books, and we will hopefully get this 6-month-long in the waiting video done with. So I'll see you guys when I have another update. Update time. I have finished the 3rd book in the selection series, and I don't have good news. I thought the conclusion to this series was so dumb. Let's recap. So throughout the entire series, our main character is waffling between these 2 guys, the prince and the guy she knew before the selection. And it's clear throughout the whole series that the guy she initially knew was the guy that she cared more about, and the prince she had no attraction to, she had no chemistry with. It kind of seemed like she just was faking a relationship to get farther in the selection, which is fine, and I kind of respect that. And then in book 2, she had decided that she was gonna go home, and then right before that happened, she decided, no, I'm gonna stay and keep trying to pursue the prince. So then she spent most of the 3rd book trying to win over like the king and the queen and the prince, I guess, trying to make it so he would pick her for his final selection. So ultimately it whittled down to the final 2, our main character and another girl. And then the prince came to her and told her that it was gonna be over, he was gonna pick her, and so our main character was going back to that other guy and basically telling him goodbye, and she like hugged him or touched him or something, and then of course the classic prince walks in, sees that, assumes that they're doing something, and that she doesn't really love him, blah blah blah. So things blow up, they get in a big fight, he ends up not choosing her or saying he's not going to choose her anymore. Things blow up. She finds these letters that the prince had written throughout the entire selection saying that he loved her the whole time, which is so weird because it just seemed unbelievable because like he had the opportunity to tell her those things that were in the letter, so it's like there was no reason for him to write letters the entire time. He could have just told her how he felt, but whatever. And then all of a sudden at the end, the castle gets infiltrated by rebels for like the third time in the series. People attack and all hell breaks loose, and the king and queen die, and the prince gets shot, and the main character goes over to the prince as he's laying there, and he professes his love to her again, and and then our main character is like whisked away to safety or whatever, and we're kind of supposed to assume the prince died, but obviously that's not going to be true. Then at the end, the prince and her get together in like the hospital ward or whatever, and while she's there, she's also talking to her hometown boy and finds out that he also was in love with someone else the whole time. I don't know, it just seemed overly dramatic, unbelievable, just it was not good in any way. So unfortunately, I have been debating between honestly like 1 and 2 stars for this last book. It was by far my least favorite in the series. I think I'm gonna go with 2 because it's not like I think that this book shouldn't have been published. I just think it was bad. And I think, you know, it's outdated. I think there are better books out there now, even for young adults. And so I wouldn't recommend it, but I'm not gonna give it 1 star. That still seems a bit harsh. But I'm giving it 2 stars and definitely ranking it my least favorite in the whole series. So that's disappointing. Glad to have it over with. And now I'm left with the decision of, do I read the next 2 books in the series? Part of me is still really curious what those next 2 books are about, and so I think I will give the next one a try, just to see who we're following, what the story is, if it's just like the exact same thing done over again or what it is, I don't know. But that's my plan. I think I will try that next. I'll keep you posted. I don't want to come back and just rant about 2 more books. That seems unproductive and unnecessary, but we'll see if that's what ends up happening as I finish this series. Hi guys, update time with some of the weirdest lighting I've ever seen. I'm very blue, behind me is very yellow. Apologize for that, but I had to pop on because I just started The Heir, book 4, and drum roll please, I'm liking it. I am only on page 60, but so far this is pleasantly surprising me, and I'm liking the story and the characters already way more than I liked the characters in the selection. So the premise of this book, if you do not know, is we are following the daughter of America and what's his name from book 1, where they're married, they're ruling, and at this point in time, they have disbanded the casts, and it's not going as well as they were hoping. People are not as excited as they thought to be completely free of their casts. There's still a lot of fighting and judgment between the casts, and so in order to kind of raise general morale, they are kind of forcing their daughter, our main character, to do a selection. This daughter was not planning on doing a selection. They kind of thought it had ended at this point, but they think that this is the way that they are going to bring all the casts together to root for, you know, love, and to root for maybe their people to go further in the selection or whatever. But I'm already seeing more depth in our main character in this one than we saw in the last one. Our main character here seems very strong and intelligent, and she doesn't want to go through with the selection, but it seems to be like for good reasons, and so I'm excited to see her explored a little more as a character. I think we've already met who's gonna end up, you know, being the one who she's gonna end up falling in love with. So I'm not sure how excited I'm gonna be about the actual romance of this book, but I'm liking the general premise a lot more. I will say that the king and queen, the 2 main characters from the last book, you know, that we followed the whole time, I'm kind of surprised that we're not getting like their insight more. They kind of seem like they could just be any old characters, any old parents. There's no like tiebacks to the original series, which I feel like is kind of weird. But I'm gonna go ahead and get back to reading this. It should be a very quick read, so I'm sure I'll update when I am nearing the end or at the end, and I'll let you know if my good thoughts continue with this book.
Okay, on my way to work, I have just finished the 4th book in the Selection series. And I don't know, guys, I think I'm the unpopular opinion here, but I liked this way, way better than the first 3 books. I still hate that it's 2 books in this second part of the series instead of 1, because they cut it off halfway through the actual selection that's going on. But at least it's only 2 books I have to get through now instead of 3. That was ridiculous in the first one. But otherwise, like I was saying before, I just liked this main character better. I liked the other guys better. I think there might be something in like even in The Bachelor show, I typically enjoy The Bachelorette more, where there's lots of guys fighting for one girl instead of multiple girls going for one guy. I think it just feels like it's less petty and less dramatic, and maybe easier to picture myself in that situation or something. But I feel like I also, of the boys that are in the selection, or men, or however old they are, I feel like they're pretty distinct, and there are several of them that I like and that I'm rooting for just in general. I still think I know who she ultimately ends up with, but never know. Maybe there'll be a twist there. But even though she's not going to end up obviously with all of them, I still like that I like other characters. So I think I'm just gonna go ahead, dive right into the last book in the series. We'll see what happens. This one, I still, just because it is so like juvenile in nature, and it feels more like a guilty pleasure type read than an actual quality piece of, you know, literature. I don't think I can give it more than a 3, maybe a 3.5, but just know that it is a strong 3, and it's definitely my favorite book so far out of all of the books in the Selection series. So excited to see what I think of the last one, and I will be back when I have some thoughts to share.
So, fun fact about me, if you happen to be wondering, well, first, I am about 31 weeks pregnant, and my one pregnancy craving this time around has been chocolate chip muffins, specifically with a really crispy, crunchy top. Like more crispy than you can get with just like box muffin mix. So I've been making a lot of homemade muffins recently, and it sounds really good tonight. So because it's about 7 p.m, I just put Krissa down for bed, and I have nothing else to do. I am going to make some chocolate chip muffins. I'm gonna put on the audiobook of book number 5, and I'm going to make myself some muffins as a not super healthy or fancy, but delicious dinner. So that's the plan tonight. And then after that, I will probably just keep on reading. So it's gonna be a good, relaxing, comforting night. Okay, it is a bit later, and I have officially finished the Selection series. Whew, so book 5 took a turn that I was not expecting and ended differently than I had predicted. She didn't end up with the person that I thought at the very beginning she was going to. So, I mean, kudos to, to that. I think it ended nicely, I guess. I'm gonna stick with my original assessment that these last 2 books are better than the first 3 books in the series. I don't know why I'm the unpopular opinion in saying that and why everyone seems to think that the first 3 are so good and the last 2 are so bad, but I don't agree. I liked the last 2 more. I'm gonna give them each 3 stars. Probably more like 3.5 stars, but I don't really do half stars, so we're gonna round it to 3. The first 3 books, again, I think were 2 stars, 3 stars, 2 stars maybe? It's been so long, I don't even remember. But overall, am I glad to have read this and to know what people are talking about? Yes. Do I plan on watching the Netflix adaptation now that I've read it? Probably not. Would I recommend this series to other people? No. And am I going to keep these books in hopes of rereading them or having other people borrow and read them or having my kids potentially read them in the future? No, I don't think so. I don't think I need to keep this series. I will never revisit it. At least I have this video documenting my thoughts and reading experience. Again, I'm glad to know what all the hype is about, but I don't agree with it. I think there are better books and series out there for teens and people in general to read, and I'd much rather watch a season of The Bachelor. So that is what I have for my final thoughts. I'm sorry that it's not a raving, glowing review, but hopefully it's still interesting to those of you who have read the series before and entertaining to those who haven't. So with that, thank you so much for watching. I hope to be back soon with another book series binge. Otherwise, I will see you in my next video.